for today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about everything you need to know for chunk hoppers over on Rainy Day, a public Minecraft Skyblock server that has just released Season 3. Now, before we jump into this video, please drop a like right now, which is the big thumbs up button down below. And please don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. And let me know in the comments section if this video helped you. Now let's jump in. Okay, so the first thing that you're probably wondering is, what is a chunk collector? What do they look like and how do they work? So this is a chunk collector placed down. It kind of looks a little bit like a beacon, and this is how they look without them being placed down. Now essentially there is a chunk collector per category of studies that you essentially grind. So if I just do the command/studies, in here you can see the categories that you can grind. You can get a mob collector, you can get an ore one, a crop, a wood, and a fish. So right now I have a fish one placed down. And the way that they work is depending on the category that you have placed. So let's take the example of the fish. Every time I fish in that chunk, whatever I catch will immediately go straight into that chunk collector, so long as I catch it when I'm in the same chunk. So to see your chunk borders, it is F3 and G at the same time on your keyboard, and you'll get these funky looking things come up on screen, and these are essentially the chunk borders. So as long as I catch a fish within this border and my collector is in that chunk, then they will work together simultaneously. So as an example, if I'm now in this chunk and I was to start fishing, I would catch the fish in my inventory. They wouldn't go into my collector because my collector isn't in this chunk. To take your borders off, it is simply F3 and G again on the keyboard to get rid of those. Now, a couple of housekeeping rules for these collectors. Now, the first thing is you can only place down one of each category in each chunk. So there's 5 studies, so you can place 5 collectors down, 1 per study. However, what you cannot do is you cannot place 2 fish collectors in the same chunk. They have to be placed in separate chunks in that example, as far as I know. Now, the second thing to note is they work for everybody. So what I mean by that is if I had a couple of people on my island who all started to fish as well, every catch that they collect and they earn also goes into my chunk collector. There's no way to kind of blacklist or stop anybody else from accessing it. Everything that they catch falls into it. So you kind of can share them across members on your island. The second thing to note is where you can actually get these from, right? How do you get your hands on them and things like that? So the command/warp crates will take you to the arena where we have lots of different crates. Every single crate in this arena, with the exception of the cosmetic one and the sprite one, of course, but all of the standard crates have the opportunity to pull a random chunk collector. So it'll be a random category. There isn't a single crate that has a specific one. It is always random, and each crate has a different quantity. The rarer the crate, so for example tsunami, the more opportunity that you get / the more amounts that you get, i.e. you can pull 3 from this one versus 1 from the thunder crate. The only other thing to flag is /vote. If you was to claim your votes, unfortunately there is no chunk collector option in the vote spinner. Right now that is not something that is possible. Coming back to the chunk collector, when I click in it, it has a couple of different options. Now, the first thing to note is this is catching every single fish that I have in my chunk. However, there is a capacity limit, okay? So there is different ranges and upgrades and levels to a chunk collector. There is essentially 5 levels to the collector. Each level has an increased amount that it can store. So right now I'm at base level, so I can store up to 5,000 items. If I then want to increase my storage unit, it obviously costs Skydust. So it costs 5,000 Skydust for level 1, it costs 10,000 for level 2, 25,000, then 50,000, and then the final level costs 75,000 Skydust. I'm going to leave a screenshot on screen. This screenshot is an indication as to the capacity size that the chunk collector holds, dependent on the upgrade that you purchase. Just to give you an idea, I got this off the changelogs, I think it was, over on Discord, but that has a lot of info on there for you to see. Now, the final thing to note is all of the items inside of this. You can click this button and it will sell all of these items. There is a 10% tax which goes back to the server. So for example, if I was to sell all of my fish, let's just hypothetically say it was going to cost 100,000. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get 100,000 back because 10% of that will be taxed and gone back to the server. So I'll end up with about 90,000 as an example there. Your alternative is, if you don't want to pay the tax, you can manually click one by one on the chunk collector. It will then put the items in your inventory, and then you can essentially do the command/sell, click on each one and then sell it that way. As far as I know, sell ones do not work neither. So if you are fortunate enough to have a sell wand, you cannot sell wand into the collector itself. You also cannot hopper out of the collector, so you kind of can't put like a hopper and then kind of put it into a storage system. It is simply a case of one by one taking them out or clicking the sell all. I think it would be really nice to have a collect all button, but unfortunately that is not a thing. And that is the end of the video. I hope you guys learned something new. If you did, please drop a like right now and let me know in the comments section what you learned. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. I'll see you in another video very soon, but goodbye for now.